Despite some bumps on the campaign trail, the Prime Minister is to declare the state pension will never be taxed as he unveils a quadruple lock.
Yes, this will keep income for the elderly safe, he's claiming. But meanwhile, Labour is set to show off their economic credentials today, following on from Keir Starmer's keynote speech yesterday.
The very foundation of any good government is economic security, border security, national security. This is the foundation, the bedrock that our manifesto, our first steps, will be built on. And then on that foundation, with an end to the Tory chaos, we can start to rebuild our country. Step one, economic stability, the very foundation of growth, with tough spending rules that mean we can keep inflation, taxes and mortgages low.
Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves has promised to lead the most pro-growth Treasury agenda as they receive the backing today of 120 business leaders.
And yesterday the campaign turned to Scotland as the SNP John Swinney leader vowed to kick the Tories out of every seat in the country.
I want to bring people in Scotland together. I want to unite people in Scotland on an agenda to make Scotland a better country. And that's about tackling some of the issues that are really significant and damaging for Scotland that we've had in recent years. The impact of austerity, the impact of Brexit, the impact of the cost of living crisis. I want to address those issues and address them through the election.
And where are the Lib Dems? Well, their leader, Ed Davey, will be in Lake Windermere. Paddle boarding.
Making a splash. I can see the headlines already.
After launching the Lib Dems campaign in Scotland yesterday.
The people of Scotland have been doubly let down. Let down by an out-of-touch Conservative government in Westminster and taken for granted by an out-of-touch SNP government in Holyrood. They both have to go.
OK, well, they're all having their say. Let's get the thoughts of Spiked Online's deputy editor, Fraser Myers, on what he's hearing from the leaders.
Good morning.
Well,
so it's interesting hearing about this new, essentially, well, they're calling it a quadruple lock or a triple lock plus. They haven't quite decided on the language yet to protect elderly people's pensions. A lot of viewers might be a bit confused by this. They might think that I don't pay any tax on my state pension. But actually, ironically, it's under Jeremy Hunt's plans, currently, as they currently stand, that you will by 2027. So the Tories have announced this big policy saying they're going to protect pensioners to protect them from the Tories' own policies, strangely. I think what this is an interesting sign of is the Conservatives really trying to shore up their core vote. As things stand, it's only the over 70s who are most likely to back the Tories. And I think strategists in the party think that they can claw back a lot of elderly voters or ensure people turn out on the day to ensure that Labour don't win a completely humiliating and commanding victory in this election. It seems designed much like the National Service proposal to appeal to perhaps voters who are leaning towards reform or perhaps voters who are saying they don't know. I think they think they can win those voters back.
On this £2.4 billion tax cut for pensioners, how are they proposing to pay for it? I mean, if I hear one more time through clawing back tax avoidance, that seems to be the new sort of go-to magic pot of gold, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's interesting. That seems to be the Tories' pot of gold, just as Labour, they must have funded God knows how many commitments through the tax on private schools and similar. I guess one thing, I suppose the Tories aren't going to be in the next government is the saving grace for them. Perhaps it doesn't matter where the money for this entirely hypothetical scheme is going to come from.
Be interesting to see David Cameron out and about today.
Sorry, what did you say?
David Cameron, I'm saying, he's out and about today. He's in the northwest of the country campaigning.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. It wasn't clear how much of a role Cameron would play because obviously he is unelected. He was put into the House of Lords in quite a surprise move by Rishi Sunak. So I think Cameron, someone who represents an earlier form of the Tories, a sort of more technocratic style of Tory of the Tory party before Boris Johnson, before Liz Truss, and it seems as if they are looking almost back to that kind of 2015 coalition that won them the surprise victory in 2015. People not necessarily, not that newer working class coalition of the Red Wall. They're going back to the core vote of, Southeast, pensioners, professionals, if that makes sense.
How do you think Rishi Sunak will feel his campaign is going so far? I mean, it's been a pretty tumultuous few days. First of all, his sort of feels a bit like a back of the fag packet conscription plan, sort of backfired, with military experts saying it's bonkers, to quote one of them. You've got Zach Goldsmith saying the majority of Tory MPs are going to lose their job. You've got a leaked memo to The Times saying that there are lots of disgruntled Tory MPs refusing to go out, rather go on holiday than get out on the campaign trail. And then you've got Lucy Allen, Conservative MP, backing the Reform candidate in her own constituency as she's due to stand down. It's not exactly a ringing endorsement, is it?
Well, I think it started off immediately with that terrible speech in the rain. Him being blasted, music drowning him out. I think it's gone from bad to worse. There's been a gaffe nearly every day. He's visited the Titanic Quarter last week, which is another completely unforced error. I think, perhaps one of the reasons for calling this election early was the fact that, the longer the government is in, the more potential there are for things like defections, things like more scandals, worse economic news. And now it's like we're seeing all of that happening, within the space of just a week. It hasn't even been a week since the election was called. And already, as you say, there's these, list of unforced errors. I think the Tories are going to have to throw everything they have at the election. Perhaps that's another reason why you're getting, quite surprising, quite bold, if you like, brave, to use the sort of yes minister language, policies like national service. Certainly they are grabbing the public's attention, but, there is such a thing as bad news in politics as well as good news.